Afghanistan is entering a very critical stage, with US and NATO troops withdrawing from the country. There are reports of Taliban gaining more ground while peace talks are ongoing in Doha. We spoke to Taliban spokesman Suhail Shaheen about the future of Afghanistan. Suhail Shaheen, thank you for joining us from Doha.
Thank you.
According to the historic US-Taliban deal, Washington pledged to withdraw all US troops from Afghanistan by September 11. In exchange, the Taliban agreed to cut ties with terrorist groups, participate in talks with the Afghan government, and perhaps most importantly, reduce violence. But violence has actually risen in Afghanistan in the last few months, and most people are blaming the Taliban for the surge, for the rise in violence. How do you respond to those who say that the Taliban isn't committed to peace, is not negotiating in good faith?
According to the agreement that we have signed, that all foreign forces should have been withdrawn from Afghanistan by May 1st, but they didn't withdraw, and President Biden said that he would withdraw his forces, and other foreign forces would withdraw from Afghanistan by September 11. But still, we have not attacked them. And about the upsurge of violence, this is not from our side. Yes, there are hundreds, about 150 districts of Afghanistan have fallen to us, but all the forces there, they have come over to our side voluntarily. We have not captured all those districts by fighting and by military force. So it is not possible to take 150 districts in just 6 weeks by fighting. So this indicates that the security forces of the Kabul administration do not trust the administration, and that they do not want to continue the fighting, and they believe and know the veracity of the Islamic Emirate of Afghanistan as the freedom fighters of this country, as the real son of this country. That is why they are joining us in hundreds.
Let's stick with the very crucial and important topic of troop withdrawal here for just a second, because as previously mentioned, under the US-Taliban deal, all foreign troops are supposed to leave Afghanistan by September 11, the very latest. But Washington has recently announced that up to 1,000 US troops may remain in Afghanistan beyond that deadline to protect diplomatic missions and Kabul's international airport. The question now, of course, on everyone's mind is if and how the Taliban will respond.
We have signed the agreement with the US. We have been abiding by that agreement. We have not made any violation of the agreement. So according to the agreement, they have pledged and made commitment that they will withdraw all their forces, military forces, trainers, contractors, advisors from Afghanistan. And they will close this chapter of occupation, and then we will enter another chapter of reconstruction of Afghanistan, independence of Afghanistan. In that chapter, they are welcome in civilian role. But if they still leave behind their troops, that would be a clear violation on their part from the agreement that they have signed on 29 February 2020.
So clearly, foreign troops, US troops remaining in Afghanistan would be seen by the Taliban as a clear violation of the agreement. What does that mean, to be very specific, Suhail Shaheen? Does that mean you would retaliate? Do you think, and do you mean that US troops, foreign troops would become a target?
Of course, if they take any action that is in violation of the agreement, why we are abiding that we will not allow any one to use our soil, whether he is individual or it is an entity. So they must also make their their commitment and abide by their commitments. If they didn't, then we have full right of retaliation. That's clear, yes.
So clearly a warning to the US and foreign troops remaining in Afghanistan. If they do so, it is at their own risk, if I understand you correctly, Suhail Shaheen. The other question, of course, is what happens to diplomats, NGOs, and other foreign civilians living in Afghanistan. Does the deadline relate an appeal to them as well, or are they exempt?
About NGO workers, diplomats, embassies, consulates, we are committed that we will provide a secure environment for their functioning. Our people need that, and we also want a good relation with all countries of the world. In future, when an Islamic government is in place, even now, we do not target embassies, consulate, workers of NGOs. So that is our commitment. We issued statements not once, twice, and also our spokesman made remarks about that we are not targeting them. And even we will not allow anyone to create anarchy which led to targeting diplomats of other countries. So that is, yes, that is our commitment. We have made it clear to publicly.
So the argument that foreign troops may have to leave behind and stay in Afghanistan to protect diplomatic missions is not valid, if I understand you correctly. No ongoing protection force is needed to protect the diplomats, the diplomatic corps. Yeah. The other question.
Yes, if they say it is a threat from our side, that is why they are leaving behind military forces in the country. We assure them, we make commitment that we will not target. That is not our goal, to target embassies, consulate, but rather we will provide a secure environment for their functioning. So our goal is clear, and that is to end the occupation and to form an Afghan inclusive Islamic government in the country, in which all Afghans will participate. So that is our goal, clear. About NGOs, workers, their stops, even local stops, Afghan working in embassies and consulates and foreign diplomats, we do not target them. So that's, our policy is clear in this regard.
Aside from protecting diplomatic missions, the other rationale behind leaving foreign troops in Afghanistan is to protect Kabul's international airport. As a matter of fact, Turkey has offered to continue operating and securing Kabul airport, an offer that has been opposed by the Taliban. Why did you oppose this?
Because we see leaving of forces, whether they are American forces, NATO forces, in the country, while they have signed that they would withdraw all their forces from Afghanistan, that in our side means continuation of the occupation. That we do not want. We want a complete end to occupation. Yes, Turkey is a great Islamic country. We had historical relation with them. Afghanistan had historical relation, but that relation would start again when we have an Islamic government in Afghanistan, in an independent Afghanistan, so they at that time can have relation with us in many fields, and we can sign any agreement which is mutually beneficial and we mutually agreed upon. But that is in a new phase. Right now, when this is the phase of occupation, all forces should withdraw from Afghanistan to close this chapter forever. And we are able to enter another chapter, a chapter of independence of Afghanistan, and have a relation with all countries of the world, particularly the Islamic country and including Turkey.
So Turkish troops operating in Kabul and Afghanistan beyond the withdrawal deadline would be a cause for a deterioration in Turkish-Afghan relations. And Turkish troops, if I understand you correctly, very much like the US troops, would become a target after the deadline if they stayed.
Yeah, I think it is not in the interest even of Turkey to continue that role of remaining in Afghanistan while they came with NATO when the American forces invaded Afghanistan. They were part of that, though in non-combatant role, but they were a part of that. Now, we are telling them all forces, NATO member countries' forces and American forces should go from Afghanistan. Then we will have a new government. Then we can have agreements, cooperation in various fields. So that is up to that phase. Right now, the occupation should come completely. That is our position in policy. And we have announced this time and again.
No distinction will be made for foreign troops staying in Afghanistan beyond the deadline, says Suhail Shaheen. Let's focus on the ongoing peace talks with the Afghan government that the Taliban is conducting in Doha at the moment. The question, of course, on everyone's mind is whether the Taliban, whether you are prepared for a power sharing, a true power sharing agreement with the Afghan government and their demands to hold free and fair elections. What is your answer?
That we are talking with the other side negotiation team, and any topic they bring to the table for negotiation, they are welcome. But only the decision which is agreed upon by the two teams would be acceptable to us. We have not prevented them from bringing any issue or any topic to the table, but they should be first discussed, and then we would have negotiation about that when the decision is reached, and then it would be acceptable to all of us. So now I can't say right now before the negotiation or the two teams takes their decision. So only that the other side can bring their agenda to the table, as we have the right to bring our agenda to the table for discussion.
There are many Afghans who are concerned about what actually happens once foreign troops leave Afghanistan. Afghan President Ghani insists that Afghan security forces are more than capable, but hundreds of Afghan security forces have actually fled the country in recent years into Pakistan, Uzbekistan, and Tajikistan, and the Taliban is advancing fast, making serious ground. Again, the question is, under these circumstances where you seem to be holding the upper hand, whether the Taliban is actually serious about talks and dialogue.
Holding dialogue and reaching a peaceful solution, it is our policy. It has not changed. And we are not intending to change it. because it is as a result of negotiation and negotiated settlement that a durable peace will come to Afghanistan, that we would not have any problem, and also stop foreign intervention in Afghanistan, with all Afghans have participation in future government. Secondly, the recent developments and the districts falling to us, that is the distrust and mistrust the security forces of the Kabul administration have regarding the administration. They come over to our side. They say, we do not trust this administration. This is a residual of the occupation. So even if our forces, for example, had gone over to their side, would they have rejected? Of course, they would have welcomed. That is what we are doing the same. When their forces coming without any fighting, we welcome them, of course. This is also one way of stopping the fighting in Afghanistan. So we assure all Afghans they should not be worried about that. And all areas and districts that came to under our administration, we have issued instruction. Our leadership has issued instruction that all offices, schools, markets should be operational and open, should remain open.
Suhail Shaheen, I think the concerns and worries on the part of many Afghans are rooted from the experience and memories of the Taliban rule from 1996 to 2001, where public executions, the banning of television, music, cinema, banning girls of over 10 to attend school were a reality. And of course, the question that is on the Afghan people's mind is whether the progress that has been made over the last years, over the last 2 decades, as a matter of fact, will be erased, whether the development and progress on all these fronts, including, of course, women's rights, will be erased once the Taliban comes into power again. Can you assure them here and now that those concerns are unjustified?
About the women's rights, whether they are right to education, their right to work, we don't have a problem with that. We do not have any problem with that. They can have access to education and also can work, but only Islamic hijab they should observe. And the Islamic hijab is observed in many Islamic countries. The other is the Islamic law. We are Muslims. We believe in that. And thirdly, as I said earlier, and all those 150 districts that fell to us in the past 6 to 7 weeks, our leadership has issued instruction that all markets, schools, offices, everything, even the news outlets, media outlets, social media, though they should remain operational as they were in the past. So this right now, and practically they are operational. So why they should have worries? Those things are more used as a propaganda. They are launching propaganda against us, but do not reflect the ground realities in Afghanistan.
So you're saying the Taliban return to power would not compromise the progress Afghanistan has made over the past 2 decades. That would imply and mean that the Taliban in many ways has changed their views on civil liberties over the past 2 decades, has it not?
All liberties, all rights, which is according to the Islamic rules and law, we are giving them. Why not? Because we are Muslim. While we are going to establish an Islamic government, and that government is based on Islamic laws. And Islamic laws have given all rights to people, whether they are men or women, boys, girls, all of them. We are committed to give them. We have no problem with that. But the other is the propaganda launched against us. That is baseless. That is not something which is based on evidence which reflect the ground realities. So unfortunately, we have do not have access to media. Even this is, I think, the first time I am speaking to you in the last 20 years, while hundreds of times you would have interviewed the other side. So that is the result of their spread of propaganda, our opponents, that they have created such conception or misperception against us.
Well, those misperceptions, as you call them, might be rooted in what the world has seen from 1996 to 2001. But you kept saying, and you are saying, that Afghanistan is an Islamic country, something I think the international community would not dispute or contest. But there are numerous Muslim countries out there, as you know, that are thriving without enforcing bans on the education of women or on recreational sports, cinema, culture, and so on and so forth.
There may be some countries, Islamic countries, but there are many countries, Islamic countries right now, the girl students, they observe hijab. There is separate schools for girls. So we have this in many countries. So the Muslim people of Afghanistan have fought against the two invasion, one after another, for two objectives: to end occupation and to have an Islamic government. Of course, a government which is participated by all Afghans and which will pave the ground for prosperity of the people and development of the country, reconstruction of the country, which will have good relation with all countries of the world. So that is what we want. We do not want to live in vacuum, but at the same time that every people has a right to establish a government on the basis of their aspirations. Our people also have right to have independence, an independent country, and a government based on their aspiration and their dreams.
Suhail Shaheen, last question. The peace talks, as the Taliban have promised and announced, will be accelerated in the coming days, and they are expected to enter a very important stage. The Taliban plans to present a written peace proposal to the Afghan government very soon. What can we expect?
That was a report quoting Mr. Mujahid, which I contacted him. It was not true that about this plan. Of course, we have plan, but it's not that we will be presented here in 1 month. Our plan is one plan is that we have prepared and presented our agenda to the other side. They know about our agenda. So you can say that is a kind of our plan. What we want, we have already presented to them. And they have presented their agenda to us. That is why the talks are continuing here in Doha. But the progress is slow. We acknowledge the progress is slow. We are not happy with that slow motion of the intra-Afghan negotiation. They should accelerate. They should expedite.
Suhail Shaheen, Taliban spokesperson, thank you for joining us.